The Beach of Falesá is a story of white traders and ancient taboo on a South Sea island where civilization has no power and men live stripped to their most base passions. The devious trader Case, who plays on his concertina tunes of death, including in the end his own. Little Jack, the laughing, dangerous, white Negro, who executes Case's orders, and the gin-soaked, mindless sea captain Randall. Onto this island comes Wiltshire to trade and to investigate the death of his predecessor. During a drunken, sinister party, they arrange for him a mock marriage to an outcast native girl. And from that moment, Wiltshire is a man fighting alone against the menace of the jungle and the human heart of darkness. The Beach of Falesá. Screenplay version by Dylan Thomas. Based on a story by Robert Louis Stevenson. This text is reproduced under Canadian public domain law. Recent changes to that law, made by a new trade deal arranged by Justin Trudeau, add another 20 years of protection onto books like the one you're about to hear. And so if any publisher stumbles onto this, I hereby reserve my rights to my recording. It is the hour before tropical dawn on the hushed gray open sea. A boat glides by like a shadow, the moon going down behind her tall sails. The boat sails on through the very slowly lightening night, through moonlight and music, the soft sea speaking against her sides, and is gone again. Now it is nearer dawn, and the moon still bright, lowering towards the glassy, quivering western rim of the South Sea. To the east, the great sky about to dawn is cloudless, and out of darkness into dying moonlight, into rising dawn, the boat glides again. A bird circles above it and wheels, crying sad and high, then flies away. The boat is a fore and aft schooner of about 100 tons. Two dark figures stand on the little deck, looking out into the neither night nor morning. The tall, broad, bareheaded figure Wiltshire, his hair tossed in the wind, stands still, upright, tense, and quiet. The short figure, the captain at the wheel, raises an arm to point. There, over there, do you see? Behind the break of the reef. He speaks softly, intimately. Dawn rises, darkness drains suddenly away from the cloudless sky, and the cries of birds begin to be heard as from far away and coming nearer. The cries of the wild duck and the man-o'-war hawk, the awakening Pacific sea fowl. A solitary bird flies toward the line of the island, the lofty, distant wooded hills, and the stretching shore. Do you see? Falesá. That's Falesá, the last village to the east. The captain hands a pair of glasses to Wiltshire, who puts them to his eyes. Through the twin circles of the glasses, he sees the surf beating against the high cliffs, the thickly treed valleys, the spurs of mountains, the majestic woodlands, the white flash of stream down the glens, the tumbles of waterfalls, the tall breadfruit trees, the coconut palms, the scattered bamboo houses under the trees, and a few tails of smoke wisping up to the sky. Do you see that bit of white there to the eastward? That's your house, mister. The circle of the glasses moves slowly to pick up a glimpse, between palms and breadfruits, of a white bungalow standing high above the beach. Built of coral, do you see? Best station in the South Pacific. Strong and pretty and broad in the beam and easy to manage and used to knocking about just like the women. Now, as he speaks, the circles of the glasses drop. The island is, suddenly, quite far away again. A mountain line, a reef, a distant scatter of trees, and unidentifiable stretch of surf to beach. Wiltshire, the glasses dangling in his hand, still stares at the island, and speaks as though to himself. I can see the starfish in the water, and the parrotfish, red and purple and green. The captain shakes his head slowly. Can you smell the wild lime, trees and flowers, hibiscus and pomegranate? I've been down near the land too long, low down. The captain raises his head to the land wind, sniffs, turns on the deck, and shouts below as loud as a bull with a megaphone, and in a voice startlingly unlike the soft, intimate voice he had been using. Nigavindi! Nigavindi! He speaks over his shoulder, again in his soft voice to Wiltshire. Breakfast, Mr. Wiltshire? And a cockerel crows. A Kanaka boy appears and takes the wheel. Great bunches of oranges decorate the stern of the boat. There are bunches of bananas hung from the topsails and stays. There is a chicken coop on the lower deck and one cockerel inside it. It crows to the tropical morning. As Wiltshire and the captain pass the coop, the little mild captain bends for a moment down towards the cockerel and, very quickly, makes a slitting movement with his fingers across his own throat. "Tomorrow, mister." In the captain's cabin, Wiltshire and the captain sit at a small duty table laid with glasses and a bottle of gin. "Who's going to be the mother?" Wiltshire half fills the glasses. He is a broad, dark-haired man in the middle 30s, stubbled about his broad jaw, shadowed under the eyes by dissipation or fatigue. He has a reckless twist to his mouth, but his eyes are contemplative, a man accustomed to some brutality and much loneliness, to excess and remorse. He looks into his glass, moving it slowly. A ship's clock ticks on the cabin wall behind him. The captain, bald and small and ageless, benignly wrinkled, deeply tanned and sea-blown, an old salt-soak, soft-mannered rogue and prop of all the Pacific bars, gossip of the islands, raises his glass. "You've got the best little trading station I ever seen," he drinks, "all ship-shape in Bristol, clean as a skipper's cabin." He darts a sly look about the cabin. "Maybe cleaner, snug as a pub in the snow, trim and homey. 3 rooms all spit and polish, you could drink off the floor. When Johnny Adams saw it, Johnny Adams with a club foot, him that was here before you, he took and shook me by the hand, the one with the mermaid on it." He makes the tattooed mermaid on the back of his hand belly dance as he speaks. "I've dropped into a soft thing here, Conrad," he says. "So you have," I says. "Soft as feathers." The captain looks at Wiltshire's glass. "Your breakfast's getting cold." I only saw him once after that, coughing and weeping, gibbering when it grew dark, peeping and sneaking and spying through the window chinks when the night comes on, squealing in his sleep like pigs. He couldn't get on with the natives or the whites or something. He carried a gun day and night, but he couldn't have shot a whale. His fingers twitched like this. He reaches to the bottle, refills the glasses. Wiltshire rises, huge in the little cabin, stares through the portholes at the rapidly nearing island. Woods, trees, mountains, beach, the sounding surf, houses, and natives on the beach. Next time we came round, he was gone, vamoosed. Took a chance passage in a ship from up west. Case saw him off. As he is speaking, a boat leaves the beach and moves towards the schooner. "See a boat coming yet?" Wiltshire nods without turning. "That'll be Case, Mr. Case." The captain gets up and goes towards the cabin door, followed by Wiltshire. On the deck of the schooner, Wiltshire and the captain walk toward the side of the nearest island in the approaching boat. "He's a hard case, too, but he plays the accordion beautiful. And see him playing cards, he'd strip the tattoo marks off your back. Very educating. Went to a fine school, too, back in England, but he got kicked out of there. Something he'd done, bigamy, perhaps it was. I've forgotten. Yes, that's his boat. Whistling Jimmy fell out of that boat one night and was drowned when he was drunk. It's a horrible death, drown when you're drunk. Up comes all your past life in front of you and you're too boozed up to see it. Sweet place, Falesá. The climate's very wholesome. Look at old Captain Randall, been drinking here like a herring for 30 years till he almost broke scales. The boat from the island comes nearer. It is rowed by 2 Kanaka boys, and a white man sits in the stern. What'll you bet he ain't after buying gin? It's gin and cigars, and then it's gin and no cigars, and then when all the parlaying's over, he starts again with the gin. He's an easy man to trade with, but very monotonous. He waves to the approaching boat. The man in the stern waves his straw hat back. See his striped pajamas and his little cigarette. Very smart. Johnny Adams? He thought he was a damn sight too smart. Tell me about this Johnny Adams. What was he frightened of? The boat is drawn up to the schooner's side. The cock crows again. Case climbs aboard. He is a smallish man, strong and wiry. His nose is hawk-hooked, his black beard neatly trimmed. His face is deeply lined, but whether by age or illness or by a tropical disease of the past, it is hard to tell. He carries himself with debonair confidence. He is dressed in perfectly laundered striped pajamas. He takes off his Panama in a salute, first to the captain, then to Wiltshire. His jet-black hair is oiled flat back and glistening on his narrow head. He smiles, and when he speaks it is in faultless cultivated English. He speaks not ostentatiously, but almost with wry reluctance, with an amused undertinge of self-contempt for his poise and mannered diction, so incongruous in their settings, so incongruous as held and spoken by a small, beaked, bearded man in pajamas on board a dirty trader outside a remote South Sea island. "Good morning, Captain. The compliments of Captain Randall and myself. He is distressed, and he cannot pay you his own compliments in person. A slight indisposition. He has the sensation of something unpleasant floating about willy-nilly between his scuppers and his hold. I tell him it's the original South Sea bubble." As he speaks, the Kanaka crew is bringing loads of copra from Case's boat onto the deck of the ship. The Kanakas hurry to and fro with their burdens across the narrow deck each side of Case, but they in no way disturb his measured, urbane eloquence. He turns smiling to Wiltshire, and politely, interrogatively raises his eyebrows. "Mr. Wiltshire, Mr. Case." Wiltshire holds out a hand. After a barely perceptible pause, Case offers his own, and they shake. "A delightful name, Mr. Wiltshire. A delightful county. I myself am a Shropshire lad. As a rival trader, may I be the first to say, welcome to Falesá. I can recommend the food, but not the liquor. The wild pig is delicious. You will like my partner, Captain Randall, too." "How much copra you got this time, mister?" Case glances casually at the sheet of paper in his hand. "X tons." Then, with an ironical smile, he addresses himself to Wiltshire. "Copra, Mr. Wiltshire." He makes a gesture of wry distaste towards the Kanakas unloading the copra. "To think that both of our livelihoods depend upon the indigestible interior of the coconut. We sell tinned salmon, washing blue, and treacle to the gullible islanders so much happier without them, and receive in exchange the dried kernels of coconuts masquerading under the dark, charmed name of copra. Copra! Coconuts! My immortal soul is bound up in coconuts, odious, hairy coconuts. And to think that all I knew about them, long, long ago, was that one threw little wooden balls at them and never knocked them down." With a sharp gesture, he beckons to one of his own Kanakan crew. "Here, king of gluttony!" He speaks to the Kanakan fluently in a native dialect, then turns apologetically to Wiltshire. "I have instructed my boys to take your things to your bungalow. Nobody will interfere with them. Everyone is honest in Falesá, except about chickens, tobacco, penknives, and women." And the Kanakan crew is beginning to unload Wiltshire's trading goods in Case's boat, chests and cases, barrels and bales. Case turns to the captain, hands him a sheet of paper. "And now, Captain..." The captain reads the paper. "Gin, cigars, more gin, gin again, gin again. You'll be smoking yourselves to death one fine day, Mr. Case." The captain and Case move off. Wiltshire stands alone, gazing at the island as the native boys hurry all around him about the unloading. Seen much nearer from the sea, the island seems to dip and rise. The giraffe-like cocoa palms bend down as though to graze. Case and Wiltshire sit together in the stern of Case's boat. It is loaded with Wiltshire's goods and with cases of gin. The two Kanakan boys are rowing. On the island, Case and Wiltshire see the feathered mountains and land heaving up in peaks and rising vales, falling in cliffs and buttresses crowned by clouds. Along the beach, men and women and children stand and wait for the boats to come. The high, gay cries of the children can be heard above the explosions of the surf. Case, reclined at ease in the stern, lazily indicates the waiting natives. The Committee of Deception, all in its Sunday best. It's a festival day. There hasn't been another trader on this island since your predecessor, Mr. Adams. Look at 'em. Everything that can walk or crawl. Women, children, dogs, lizard, and girls. Case turns his head slightly in Mr. Wiltshire's direction and says casually, "We must get you a wife." "Yes, let it wait. I'll have a looking around. I'm used to being alone." What frightened Johnny Adams off the island? Mice. He drank so much native spirit, the mice ran over his bedclothes like bison. He used to hear noises up in the bush, terrible, strange noises. It was his mice with bugles. He used to see devils, so they say. Take no notice of the superstitious gossip of the island, Mr. Wiltshire. Are you a religious man? Wiltshire is gazing up at the beach. He does not answer, but takes his pipe from his mouth and blows a mouthful of smoke out to the sea. A pity. They are all Wesleyans here, or Baptists. And you? Ah, I was brought up in the Church of England. At school, I became a pantheist. At the university, I embraced Buddhism, Confucianism, and the daughter of tobacconists. And in my early manhood, I was a pious Satanist and celebrated the Black Mass from Tunbridge Wells to Honolulu. Now, in my wiser years, I have married a Wesleyan Samoan native who secretly worships a shark, and am untroubled by faith or doubt. Shall we go to my house first, Mr. Wiltshire? As he speaks, a boat nears the beach. Boys and girls dive into the water and swim, calling and laughing around and under the water, a shoal of gay and dark-skinned fishes. The swimmers fling wreaths of leaves and flowers into the boat. The boat draws up on the beach of Falesá. Carrying their wreaths, Case and Wiltshire step ashore and walk through the crowds, who ceremoniously make their way for them, up the beach toward the village. The village street is paved with grass, through which the lizards run, and the small rat-like dogs with their smooth, shining, speckled hides. The people of the island follow, laughing and singing. They pass under the coconut palms and towering breadfruit trees with their scalloped leaves, where the native houses of bamboo thatched with palmetto leaves stand. Behind them now are the sounds of the surf and the seafowl. Snow-white birds fly above them. They walk under flowering acacias, hibiscus, and magnolias, under lime tree and shadow. The aged of the island stand at the doorways of their huts. One tall and powerful man stands alone under a tree. His chest and face are intricately tattooed. He is Tahuku, the wizard. Children high up in the coconut trees laugh and cry out when a wind shakes the branches. They have shaved heads and top knots. The younger men wear loincloths, and some of them have ornaments in their ears and necklaces of teeth. Some of the older men wear robes of white tapa. The women in bright robes and dresses and kilts of printed materials wear necklaces and girdles of flowers, leaves, and blossoms about their temples and about their ankles. And some of the young girls wear behind their ears a single white bud or an hibiscus flower. Outside one house, a very ancient person, male or female it is impossible to say, lies on a mat in the sun. There is a proverb, the coral waxes, the palm grows, but man departs. Case and Wiltshire walk on through the village, decorated for the festival. High above them range the dense woods. Streams run through the valleys. With the sound of the surf is mingled the sound of cascades of waterfalls and the birds of the woods. One old man of much dignity is smoking a pipe outside his house. He smiles and bows. His luxurious beard is tied in a sailor's knot. His beard is worth $100. Only the little brown children trot after the two white men as they leave the center of the village behind. The men and women stand in the clearing under the trees, looking after them. From the group of trees on the other side of the village comes a young native girl. She is young and slender and light in color. Her eyes are large, luminous, and melting, as are the eyes of all Polynesians. She wears no festival garlanding or decoration, but only the common dress of the village. Her body, her long black hair, and her bright dress are shining wet from the sea or the streams. Wiltshire sees her, and Case sees that Wiltshire sees her. That is Uma. He darts a quick look at Wiltshire, and the two white men walk on. The children, who are calling and laughing, have followed them from the beach, stop suddenly at the sight of Uma, and go no further. Uma walks past them, away from the center of the village. Now, Case and Wiltshire approach a large, dilapidated bungalow, and a clearing a little way away from the village, and at the edge of the thick, encroaching bush, an unpainted, unmended, weather-beaten board house with a rickety veranda. As they come nearer, a Negro man comes out onto the veranda, clad, as is Case, in striped pajamas and Panama, but, unlike Case, his clothes are untidy, tousled, and creased as though he had slept in them. He is an enormous Negro, with a wide, white, face-splitting smile. He raises his Panama at the sight of Wiltshire and Case with a friendly, or insolent, flourish. The second of your 3 white trading rivals, Little Jack. Case and Wiltshire climb up the steps to the veranda. Good day, Mr. Wiltshire. He slurs the words so it sounds like Wiltshire. Wiltshire looks sharply at him, but his great sliced melon of a smile is without guile. Wiltshire looks at Case as Little Jack steps aside and lets the 2 white men enter. Case, politely, "Oh yes, we all know your name." Case and Wiltshire go into the living room of the bungalow. It is dark inside, after the bright sun, and it is darker when Little Jack, following Case and Wiltshire, blocks up the doorway into the veranda with his great bulk. Little Jack stands there, smiling at Case with a gesture, and says, "Your 3rd white friend, to be." Slowly, as his eyes grow accustomed to the light, Wiltshire makes out the details of the room. The windows are shut and spattered with flies, dead and alive. Flies are buzzing everywhere. The roof is low and dark, stained with lamp smoke. 3 unmade beds lie on the floor against the furthest wall. In a corner on the floor lies a litter of pans and dishes. There is no standing furniture, and in the middle of the room, squatting native fashion, sits a pale, bloated old man, the flies thick around and upon him. A bottle stands by his side. He is naked to the waist. "Captain Randall, the father of the island."